Before we start, please subscribe to our channel. Now, get ready as we are about to begin. Story 1. I've always been a collector of antiques. I love the history and the mystery that comes with each piece. So, when I saw an ad for an old antique table and chairs on Facebook Marketplace, I knew I had to have it. The ad said that the set had been passed down through generations of a family, and that it was in great condition. The pictures on the ad showed a beautiful table and 4 chairs, with intricate carvings and a deep, rich color. I contacted the seller, and we arranged to meet at his house, which was in a small, quiet town on the outskirts of the city. As I drove up to the house, I noticed that it looked a bit run down, with peeling paint and overgrown shrubs. But I shrugged it off, thinking that the set would be worth it. The man who greeted me at the door was friendly, but a little odd. He had a nervous energy about him, and he seemed to be in a hurry to get rid of the set. He didn't ask me any questions or make small talk, but instead led me straight to the dining room where the table and chairs were set up. The set was even more beautiful in person, and I knew that I had to have it. The man seemed to be relieved that I was interested, and he offered me a price that was well below what I had expected. I eagerly agreed to the price, and he helped me load the set into my truck. As I drove away, I couldn't believe my luck. The set was perfect, and I couldn't wait to show it off to my friends. But as I drove, I started to feel a strange sensation. It was as if something was watching me, and I couldn't shake the feeling. When I got home, I set up the table and chairs in my dining room. They looked beautiful, and I was thrilled with my purchase. But as I sat down to eat dinner that night, I noticed something odd. The table seemed to be vibrating, ever so slightly. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but as the night went on, the vibrations became more intense. I couldn't explain it, and I started to feel uneasy. I decided to go to bed early, hoping that a good night's sleep would make the strange sensation go away. But the next day, things only got worse. I woke up to find that the chairs had moved on their own during the night, and were now arranged in a circle around the table. I was horrified, and I knew that something was not right. As the days went on, the activity in my house only increased. I would hear strange noises at night, and I would often wake up to find that the table had moved across the room. The chairs would sometimes rock back and forth, as if someone was sitting in them. I tried everything to get rid of the set. I contacted the seller, but he had vanished. I tried to sell it on Facebook Marketplace, but no one seemed interested. I even tried to donate it to a charity, but they refused to take it. It was as if the set was cursed, and I was stuck with it. I started to lose sleep, and I was becoming more and more paranoid. I would often see shadows out of the corner of my eye, and I would hear whispers in the middle of the night. One night, I decided that I couldn't take it anymore. I was going to get rid of the set, no matter what. I loaded the table and chairs into my truck, and I drove to the nearest dump. As I threw the set into the landfill, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. It was over. But as I drove home, I started to feel a strange sensation again, just like the one I had felt when I first brought the set into my house. I tried to ignore it, but it grew stronger and stronger. When I got home, I found that the table and chairs were back in my dining room, as if they had never left. I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. I tried to move the set again, but no matter how many times I got rid of it, it always came back. I was trapped in a never-ending cycle. As the weeks went by, the activity in my house became more intense. I would hear voices in the middle of the night, and the chairs would move on their own, as if someone was sitting in them. I was losing my mind, and I knew that I had to find a way to break the curse. I did some research and found out that the table and chairs were from a family that had been cursed many years ago. Legend had it that the curse was placed on the set by a witch, who was seeking revenge for a wrong that had been done to her family. I knew that I had to break the curse, but I didn't know how. I consulted with a local priest, who suggested that I perform a ritual to cleanse the set. He gave me a list of ingredients that I needed to gather, and a set of instructions to follow. I did everything the priest told me to do. I gathered the ingredients, and I performed the ritual in my dining room. At first, nothing happened. But then, I felt a sudden shift in the energy in the room. It was as if a weight had been lifted. The table and chairs stopped moving, and the strange sensations in my house disappeared. I was finally free from the curse. I learned a valuable lesson from my experience. I realized that sometimes, the past can come back to haunt us, and it's important to be careful when dealing with antiques and other objects with a history. I'll always be a collector of antiques, but from now on, I'll be more cautious about what I bring into my home. Story 2. I was in desperate need of a new laptop, and so I turned to Facebook Marketplace to try and find a good deal. I came across an ad for a laptop that seemed to be exactly what I was looking for, and it was being sold by a man named Jerry. He had great reviews, and so I felt confident in arranging to meet him to buy the laptop. When I arrived at Jerry's house, I was greeted by a man who seemed friendly enough. He showed me the laptop, and it appeared to be in good condition. But as I was about to buy it, I noticed that the laptop was still logged into the previous user's account. I asked Jerry if he could log out of the account so that I could set it up with my own information, but he seemed hesitant. He said that he had recently found the laptop and didn't know the previous owner's password. This should have been a red flag, but I didn't think too much of it at the time. I decided to buy the laptop anyway, and Jerry seemed relieved to get rid of it. But as soon as I got home, I started to notice some strange things. The laptop had some strange search history, with searches for things like how to hack into someone's computer, and how to disable antivirus software. I was a little unnerved by this, but I tried to shake it off. Maybe the previous owner was just interested in computer security, I thought. But then I found something that really disturbed me. The laptop had a file on it labeled confidential, and when I opened it, I found a collection of private photos of women. I immediately felt sick to my stomach. I didn't know what to do, and I felt violated. I knew that I needed to get rid of the laptop, but I also knew that I needed to report Jerry to the police. I contacted the police, and they were able to track down Jerry's address. When they arrived at his house, they found evidence of his illegal activities, including photos and videos of his victims. Jerry was arrested and charged, and I was left feeling traumatized by the experience. I couldn't believe that I had been so close to danger, and that I had almost become one of Jerry's victims. I realized that I needed to be more careful in the future, and that I needed to trust my instincts. Facebook Marketplace might be a convenient way to buy and sell goods, but it's also a platform that can be easily exploited by criminals. I learned a valuable lesson from this experience, and I hope that others will be able to learn from it as well. Always be cautious when buying and selling goods online, and never hesitate to report anything suspicious to the authorities. It could save you from becoming the next victim of a dangerous predator like Jerry. Story 3. I never thought I'd find myself in such a creepy situation, but here I am, typing this story on my laptop, trying to make sense of what happened to me. It all started when I was browsing Facebook Marketplace, looking for some cheap furniture for my apartment. I stumbled upon an advertisement for an antique wooden chest that was being sold for a very low price. The seller claimed that it was over 100 years old and had some unique features. I was immediately intrigued and decided to message the seller to ask for more information. They responded quickly, and we started chatting. They seemed friendly enough, and I was so excited to get my hands on this chest that I didn't think twice about meeting them in person. The seller lived in a small town outside of the city, so I hopped on the next train and made my way there. I remember walking down the quiet streets, surrounded by old Victorian homes and tall trees that swayed in the wind. The air was chilly, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. When I arrived at the seller's house, I was greeted by a middle-aged man with a friendly smile. He welcomed me inside and showed me to the living room, where the chest was waiting for me. I took a closer look and was amazed by its intricate carvings and the beautiful patina that covered its surface. But then I noticed something strange. The chest seemed to emit a low humming noise, and the air around it felt thick and heavy. I hesitated for a moment, but I was determined to take the chest home with me, so I agreed to buy it and handed over the cash. As I was leaving the house, the seller handed me a small, intricately carved key and told me to use it to unlock the chest when I got home. I thanked him and left, feeling a little uneasy but still excited to see what was inside. When I arrived back at my apartment, I immediately went to work unlocking the chest. As I turned the key, I heard a clicking noise, and the chest creaked open. I was greeted by a musty smell and a puff of dust. I reached inside and pulled out a stack of old, yellowed papers. As I started to read through the papers, please subscribe and pick another video from our channel to watch next.